Good afternoon, gang. So you guys may or may not know that this morning was a little bit of a wild one for me in the sense that I was trapped in snow. Had to go pick up my daughter, but I'll talk about that in a second on this video that I'm going to be sharing with you. After I arrived back from picking up my daughter, I was indecisive as to whether or not I give you a masterclass session or a live trading session. Now, I noticed NASDAQ starting to pull some very interesting positions. As I started doing my analysis in this video that I'm going to show you, I break down the marketplace. Then I see an opportunity with NASDAQ. Now, I've seen NASDAQ do this many, many times. So I thought, all right then, let me start trading. Let me play the first part for you. My daughter's school called us up this morning and said to me, you need to come and pick up your daughter because it's snowy and it's not safe. All right, cool. So I make my way down to my daughter's school. Terrible snow. Now, there are main roads on the way towards my daughter's school, but as you get towards my daughter's school, it's in a little village. And there are hills, trappings of snow. People were struggling to get up the main road that I needed to use to come back once I had picked up my daughter. But I learned a key lesson. As I was driving towards my daughter's school, I noticed that the cars in the opposite direction were struggling to get up this road. And in my mind, I was thinking, right, I need to start looking for ways to get out of this area because this snow's I'm not going to be able to make it in time. So I'm on Google Maps trying to find and navigate ways around this little village to get out of the zone so that I can get back in time and have my daughter with me, of course. It gets to a point where I'm not stranded now. And I was sending you guys the pictures in the Discord. Then I came to this point where I had picked up my daughter and I was like, look, I'm not going to be able to make it back up that road. Now, the car in front of me was a taxi. And this is the lesson here. In front of me, the taxi driver didn't have anyone in his car. So I made an assumption and said, given the current circumstances, there's loads of snow. People are trapped up this main road to get out of this one area, to get onto the main road where you've got the bit of the highway that's going to let you go into various areas of where I live. So I thought to myself, this taxi driver must know quicker routes out of this area. But is he going to go through the routes that are not going to be filled with snow? So I thought to myself, do I follow the taxi driver, making the assumption that he's going to be seeking the main road and looking towards the town center? Because naturally, that's where the high traffic of people are, because that's where he can pick someone up as a job and then take them to where he needs to. He's completed his little round. Or do I just go down the main road that I came from, where loads of people are going? So lots of things were going through my mind. I was thinking, given that lots of people are driving up this road, they're actually breaking down the snow on the road to make it easier for people to travel up this hill. Something said to me, follow the taxi driver. Because the taxi driver is always going to want to get out of the sticky situation because he's losing money if he's trapped. I said, you know what, forget it. Let's follow him. So I followed this taxi driver and he takes me up this road called Cherry Hill. I was like, Cherry Hill, bruv. What are you doing? Tino, you messed up on this one. This taxi driver's probably going to go home. You don't know. This taxi driver kept on driving. He was going round and round and there were no hills. Cherry Hill, but there was no hills. The snow was not so thick. There were trees covering the road. So the road was actually clear and it didn't have that much density of snow. I was like, wow, I can't believe this taxi driver is actually following with this idea in my mind that he needs to get out of this area so he can go to the next job. And ladies and gentlemen, we ended up towards the top of this road, a crossroads where you turn left to go onto the main road to go into the city center, and you turn right to go into the opposite direction. The principle is this. He got me out of this situation because I was driving up and down, trying to navigate a way out of this area. And I couldn't find any area that would make me think that the snow wasn't as bad. So I was going to have to wait on the rain that's due to come to clear it up. Well, I don't have that time. But the lesson is this. Always roll with your intuition when it comes to making a decision, especially about trading. Some of you have the luxury of being able to sit at the charts continuously, monitoring the way price moves. Now, as you keep seeing that, you'll start to train the eyes and develop this muscle memory in your mind so that when you do get to this situation, because let's be frank, how many times have we witnessed Bitcoin in this same zone? We're always in these sort of situations. One big move to the downside, retrace, continuation to the downside. Look what happened in the Asian session last night. Bitcoin comes down low. We anticipated a retrace back to the 50, and then they just dropped it even more to come back into the wick. Happy days. We're looking for the drop, retrace, roll over, retrace, roll over. The daily open's being rejected. What does my intuition say to me? Well, I'm looking for 19K. That's where I'm looking. That's my weekly projection. I've got today, tomorrow, and Saturday before that actually plays out. So when you do decide to make a decision, if you've got the technicals there, if something in your inside of you says no, then you are getting set up by Mr. Market Maker. Remember, each time price moves, it's designed to get you to do something. Always aim to think about the opposite scenario. So if you want to run a short from here, go long. Principally, we look at the green vector candle and we say to ourselves, hold on a second, Tino. There's a green vector zone right there that's tried to move up. Well, if we look at the volume, we haven't had any interest inside of this zone until a green vector stopping volume candle comes in. Now we've had movement lower and we now got this green vector candle. The bigger picture is pushing everything down, but if we're looking across the board, we're seeing a little bit of success. We've got euro moving up. We've got pound moving up. But we're anticipating this retrace back up because they've just come from an extended move to the downside. Going over into gold itself, the dominance of the dollar, we're expecting dollar to come down because they've just come from a big aggressive move. Now we're going into the news that are due to come out today on employment claims at 1:30, which is 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And if any reading below 195 does come in, then that's going to suggest that the dollar has been dropped to go back up again. Oil itself comes down and fully recovers our vector zones that we've been waiting for them to recover. Cool. Which then that tells me that USD CAD has made its way, nearly hitting that 1.38 zone, but looking to consolidate inside of this area. What do we expect from it? Well, what we expect now is at least a test to the 200 EMA if the unemployment claims data does come in and suggests that that is the case. Okay? Now, we know that euro is due to complete a cyclical break to the downside. So we are, so far, retrace level 1, drop. Retrace level 2, drop. Waiting for that retrace. Now, if you look at the way the cycles behave, level 1, look at where it breaks. But look what it does as it tries to break each low. Every time it comes to the low, it moves away from it. Comes to the low, moves away from it. Breaks the low, goes back into it, aggressively comes away from it. Because that's saying to me that this area has volume. It's saying to me that there is interest inside of this zone. So if I were to just take the volume profile from here, going all the way across to here, you can see that this area is packed with liquidity. Now you've seen that there is interest down in these zones right here from this movement lower. That's why when you see price come back up, look at where they turn from. This is how you justify levels and cycles. That you're still in line with a cyclical play. They've only come back into this same zone that they sold from. So that is suggesting to me that there are shorts being built in this area because people are buying at this point because market maker traps them. Look at the structure. Rise. M formation, drop. Rise. M formation, drop. Rise. M formation, drop. Look left. That's where they're selling from. So we know inside of this area alone that traders are transacting in this zone. The high volume nodes are suggesting that the most of those areas are packed with guys trying to buy because the ask is being lifted, because they are being sold into, and Mr. Market Maker pulls that dirty flavor above the key 1.07 zone. Happy days. Now, we see that structure coming into play. What does the logic then suggest? We expect Euro to come up and do exactly the same thing. Back up, consolidate, drop. Back up, consolidate, drop. That's what we're anticipating, or the journey towards the next cyclical break lower. Look, they've broken that area. They've come to that area. They've broken it. They've retested it, come back in, consolidate, drop. The narrative is to market lower. Now, when it comes to what we spoke about regarding the taxi driver and the intuition, if you are in a situation where you say, I'm thinking about closing my trade on NASDAQ, like the gentleman said this morning, you're probably right. Whenever you get that intuitive thought to close a trade, close it. Believe me, you're at these charts all the time. If you get that intuitive thought, roll with it. Because prior to you being in the trade, as the trade is working in your favor, you're not having that thought, are you? Because you're in this mode of belief that it's going to continue in your favor, but then you start seeing price not doing as off, it's not playing out as much as it was when you had initially opened the trade. Now you're starting to question, okay, maybe it might not actually work. Maybe I do need to start taking some profits off this. Always roll with the intuition, because I'm telling you, my intuition has saved me 1,000 times. And the reason why I never used to listen to my intuitions, because I was made to believe you have to stick to the process. You have to do this. You have to do this. The technicals. Listen, you're in a game, ladies and gentlemen, that is designed to get people to do something with money, and that is to buy or sell. And when people buy or sell, they are triggered by emotions. Retail is already emotional when they open the trade, let alone get emotional whilst the trade is on. There's a reason why people say Bitcoin is pumping, Bitcoin is dumping. Pumping is quickly. We're getting enough people in to buy. We sell into them. And when it's dumping, it's wicked. We're now buying up Bitcoin cheaper so we can smack them later on the retrace and hit their liquidations on those shorts. And then, of course, make them think that the bottom is in, and then do exactly the same again. Because we got flavor all the way at the bottom of the chart. We've got our money stacked inside of this area right here. And this is where you're going to see the retraces happen. This is where the psychology of traders starts to come into play, because this was the point in the chart which they moved away aggressively from. Okay, look left and you'll see that the liquidity is here. No one's paying attention to these areas right here, because they're paying attention to this area as a key area of support. And that's the truth. That is where the key area of support is. So what we've got to be mindful of is, how does Bitcoin behave at this area of support? If Bitcoin is going to be made to make the retail trader believe that he is now in a point where Bitcoin can bounce from, because they look at this chart and they think, yeah, that's where they aggressively moved from, Mr. Market Maker is going to initiate that zone, and he's going to make people believe that that is the case. But when we look at the higher time frames, we look at that and we say to ourselves, hold on, that looks like a stop start, quick run for the liquidity on the left side of this zone right here. Now we're coming back down to that point, and we've come from a very aggressive sell towards the upside. So that suggests to me that the real next point of interest is inside of this zone right here. So after you've had your ear chewed off in relation to that segment of the video, I'm going to go over to the next point where I decide to start trading the NASDAQ. But I really wanted to get this message across to everyone about trading is ultimately intuitive. That's the truth. Because there's nothing else you can go with. You can only develop your intuition when you've sat enough times and questioned a specific area and said to yourself, it needs to go up from here, or it needs to go down from here. I'm expecting it to do so. At that point in time, when you are waiting for something to happen, you are harvesting a memory in your mind. We know that the market is going to repeat itself again and again and again. And all we are doing is, in essence, developing that muscle in our minds to know how to act when we think we've registered onto a repetitive behavior by the market. So this is the next part. Now, I wanted to trade futures. So I've been trading futures again and took advantage of this one-up trader where instead of paying, because you have to pay a monthly fee for this, all right? But if my knowledge serves me correctly, once you've passed the test or the evaluation, you don't have to worry about paying for the fee, okay? So it's cost me around $350 for this evaluation. But what I get from that is I get the NinjaTrader software and the price feed for the futures markets to place trades on this platform, all right? Now, all I need to do is just make myself $9,000 and I'll be able to get access to $150,000 of trading. And I've got the futures markets accessible to trade and just make money from, okay? So I've got my other funded programs where I'm actively trying to get them copy trades from my personal account into those and have those working. So I'm working off one account, which is my personal one, and have these other funded programs behind the scenes with a trade copying software and just copying my trades as and when I decide to take advantage of any opportunities. Now, the reason why I'm trading futures is because I'm using ExoCharts and I'm trying to show you guys how to read the data that's coming in via ExoCharts, all right? It doesn't matter what is done on here in terms of a evaluation account. That's not what I want you to focus on. The main emphasis is what we need to look for and how we can apply the logic of intuition to help us make decisions. So here we go. On the 150K one, which is the most that you can get. And the goal is, right, so I talk about what I've just said to you guys. So I'm going to skip the video to the point where I start trading. I use NinjaTrader, where you actually start placing orders. So this is the order plot. This is the depth of market that I use to actually place orders in NinjaTrader. Okay, so this is where I execute the trades for the futures markets. All right. So it's kind of good where you can set properties, and I'm going to show you how it looks when I'm trading. So I'm going to trade the NASDAQ right now, and I'm just going to try and keep this video short and sweet and just give you the key points. That's a joke. This video ended up being an hour and a half long. All right. So this is why I'm doing this video, to make it easily digestible for you rather than have it a long trading session, because I want to get this video over to you. So this is Bitcoin on the CME right here. And I've got an imbalance right there on Bitcoin that I've got to be mindful of. There is a rotation again on the VWAP. And what I mean by rotation is the VWAP itself is trading like so. So imagine you've got the standard deviation bands like this. So standard deviation 2, standard deviation 1, positive. Then you've got the VWAP, which is this jagged line. And then you've got -1 standard deviation, -2 standard deviation, okay? The principle says that if price is in a rotation, that means it's doing this, okay? That's a rotation because there's no volatility. There's no movement in the chart in the sense that the bands themselves, the standard deviation, isn't moving away from the norm. It's rotating inside of the same area. So principally, you could use the bands themselves as resistance points and, of course, the bands lower as support points to trade back into the VWAPs, okay? That's the logic of trading rotation setups, all right? Now, going back into the logic here, we've got the same story that if the standard deviation bands are trending, so let's assume that the standard deviation... In this segment, I start talking about the trends of the VWAP. So when it's pointing downwards, you're trending in that direction, all right? So in this part, this is where I start breaking it down. It's got a little bit of flavor right here, but not too keen on it. Coming up into the 50 EMA, I'm looking at that red vector candle up there, suggesting to myself, okay, maybe I could exploit a move higher. So I'm going to pull up my platform on ExoCharts and have a look what I can see. So this is the candle of 2,600 ticks. Where is price? Well, that's the point of control, and value is present. There is an agreement of value in this area, which would suggest to me that I would anticipate them to start moving up higher. Now, this is the 5-minute time frame. So if I expand out on this chart And look, I'm going to see, is there an imbalance anywhere? I've got an imbalance up here, and I've got a gap in here that I'd expect them to try and take, which they did try, but they couldn't succeed at it. I'm going to try and see if I can exploit on the contracts to see. There we go. I think I need to start acting right now. Okay, so here we go. Depth of market. I'm going to go into it right now. I'm going to see if I can exploit this. Where's my mouse? And I'm going to open. I'm going to make it 2 contracts. Got to keep it short and... No. I've missed it. I've missed my long. Oh, no. Look what's happened. Right, I didn't... Oh, for God's sake, man. I sound like a right stupid person, but like a mouse. But yeah, that's... I missed the position. It went into that zone. And I've missed it. For God's sake, man. Missed it. Can't believe that. I just told you what's going to happen. I missed the trade. Shit. This is what happens. Right, let's assume that we could actually take advantage of this. All right? So I'm going to just put this up here, and I'm going to try and see if I can exploit 2 contracts. Here we go. We're going to go into it. So anything above the green, it's positive for me. All right? Usually like to trade... You're only allowed a maximum of 15 contracts, but I like to play around with 1, 2, and then start loading up as I've caught the move and end up at around 7 or 8 contracts of the NASDAQ. Okay? So we'll see how we are right there. 0.25 points. So in this segment, this is where I've placed the trade, and we're going to go to the zone where I'm focusing a lot on how price is behaving in a specific zone. In this part of the video, this is where I start absorbing the drawdown. And this is where we get to the question of, give me a reason to sell. What is going to happen if I sell at this point? Do you stick with the hybrid concept? Do you stick with your intuition? So in this section of the video, this is where I was on the drawdown. I was on a drawdown of about $300. Now, I was giving myself this freedom and saying to myself, okay, how much am I prepared to lose on here? I needed to accept a monetary loss that I'll be okay with. Now, top side, I wanted to get out at around $400 or $500, but as price was starting to show specific behaviors, this is what was making me stay in the trade. Now, I know in the back of my mind that I'm entitled to lose in tops with that challenge or the evaluation. You can only lose around $5,000 at one time. And my drawdown on this by the end of the video came to about, it was roughly around about $1,500, but I was waiting for a specific confirmation because of the way price was moving. My intuition was telling me to stay in the trade because it was doing something out of the norm and it was consistent with what the market does all the time. Delta is coming in positive. The previous Delta candle was 167 positive, so that's good. Here we go, going into the movement higher. Now we're seeking value. Okay, so this is where we then start looking at the chart saying, okay, where do I now look to try and take a profit? Because NASDAQ is treacherous. Look, they've done it again. Now, went into profit around about $155. Now, remember, the news announcements was due to come out. At one point of the video, I thought the news had already come out and there was a muted response, okay? But I was delayed by 15 minutes, so I misread the time, okay? But it was at this point where NASDAQ made the move higher, okay? Now, because the move went up, but it didn't follow through, this candle ended up retracing all the way down, and this is the treachery of NASDAQ. It always likes to pull back. Whenever it makes a move up, it always pulls back. And this is consistent with them behaving and building positions within a specific zone. There is now an opportunity for the ask to break through that zone because no one is selling, so it needs to try and find the next area of value. Here we go, trying to get into it. They just recovered that zero and made another zero. So here we go. Now orders are coming in right now. So, okay, so that tells me now that the aggressive buyers have got an interest right now in the charts. Quickly, let me just have a look at the zone right here. Here we go. Coming back up to that value area high, 800 EMA. So this area here is where the intuition started to come into play. NASDAQ had obviously come all the way down in the previous session, in the UK session, and found interest inside of this zone. Now, throughout the actual trading session, NASDAQ was holding all the way through this whole zone. Let me show you. Here is the drawdown. Okay, and this is where I actually pull up the hybrid system. Perfect. So you can see that NASDAQ made the move up, couldn't clear that value area high. I'm in a drawdown of about $1,100, but I'm waiting for a specific zone. And this area here was the high volume node after this point of control. So I wanted to see if they could break this with force, because when you zoom in, you see that there's a red vector candle inside of that area right there. Let me get it up for you. There is the red vector candle right there. So what you see in the chart right now here is where this zone ended up. Okay? So that's where it was. That to me was the clue that they may have already found the low. Now, in retrospect, you can look at it and say, hold on a second, man. NASDAQ hasn't even tested its daily open. They haven't even gone towards the 800 EMA. They're moving away from it. So this area here is a zone of interest. So here is a little bit of a snippet of what's going on inside of this zone. Notice price comes down and then it's bouncing away from that. This was where the intuition starts to come into play. Yeah. Let's see if they can sustain this. Look at the candles right there on the hybrid. One more attempt towards the highs. That will be good. I said I'd try and keep this video short and sweet. Clearly not, but at least I'm hoping that you guys are getting value from this. This is the issue with NASDAQ. It's a tricky asset. It goes down, it goes up, it's aggressive. Like I said, it's the Bitcoin of the CME in principle. It's an altcoin. That's how it behaves. Here we go. And she goes, moving up nicely. Cool. That's what we want to see. We want to see another break going in towards the VWAP. We want that VWAP zone. That's what we want. We want 1281, 181. That's what we want. Assuming that the ask is going to show strength, break in, come back into the wick. That's what we want. Keep going. They held this zone right here. Volume profile zone is giving us that heads up that there should be some interest in here. We've seen the interest coming, going above that point of control region right there on the actual hybrid system. So, okay, so we're going to assume that that's the case. We've got bids not taking advantage of this. The ask is coming in, so we are assuming that the aggressive buyers are stepping in now. We don't want the aggressive sellers to come into play. Can they sustain this? It looks like there's interest coming in. All of a sudden, NASDAQ is just waking up. Here we go. We've got this area of the daily candle itself. 451 orders at 170. That's what we really want to see NASDAQ go above to hold that point. 12169. Make it a valid play. We expect the movement to come in. We got divergences on this candle. See that? Positive delta, price closes low. There's a bit of a divergence right there. So that could be prompting me to stay in this on the idea that the buyers or the bids or the asks are starting to get a bit aggressive inside of this zone. They could get triggered to step in. Still a bit of a drawdown right now, but I can absorb it. I'm good with the drawdown. So I'm waiting to see if I can actually hold and sustain this. Got a bit of a cause for concern given that I've got a zero down here, which is a marketplace where the ask wasn't present. We're going to wait and see if they can hold this zone. Interest is coming in now. Here we go. Here we go. Now, see what happened there? Price had initially gapped down, but triggered a ton load of orders to come in. Look at the zero. They tapped that zone and reversed away from it. This is important. So in front, we have this green vector candle presenting itself. So I'll bring you towards the chart where that vector candle came in. There it is. There's that vector candle. It tapped the recovery of the wick right there. Okay? Now we know, because you can see that price had moved all the way back up again. And it sustained this area. This 12,155 is a very important zone. There she goes. Holding that zone, that point of that area right there. This is going to be the proof of it. Otherwise, we're out. We're done. Can they hold it? It's because the news is coming out as well. That's why we're seeing a bit of a trickery in the chart. But quite frankly, I think that this could be it. NASDAQ's got one last attempt to try and mark higher. If the asks can't sustain above this area here on the previous day's point of control, then it's done. There's a green vector candle on the 1 minute time frame. That is a cause for concern. We're going to need to see it follow through. Going back up, here's the point of control again. You see what I mean about they come away from the point of control of the candle, come back into it again. Really need to see it break higher from this point. This video's too bloody long. I'm sorry about this. You sort of call it like a masterclass session, live trading and what have you. But it's just to help you understand how to read the charts, okay? Now, not everyone might like this format, but I'm trying to get you to have an awareness of how you can navigate the way price is behaving. Look at the green vector candle right there on the 1 minute time frame, 50 EMA, 200 EMA. We want the volatility of price to go up towards the 800 EMA. Can they sustain this move and continue higher? There is clearly interest in this zone. We've established that from the point of control from that zone right there on the volume profile. Cool. Let's see if they can sustain this zone. We've got the divergences kicking in right here with the price action of the candle. Closing lower, but the divergence is higher, suggesting that there are more asks in that zone trying to lift price up. We need to see if this can sustain itself. Look at it again. NASDAQ, it's the trickiest asset. I'm telling you, man, you got to be strong to trade NASDAQ. If you don't catch it at the right time, then that's it. It can make you pay the price. So to this point right now in the chart, I was waiting for price to show me the proof as to why I need to close. Tell me, Mr. Market Maker, why should I close my trade? The 12,155 zone ended up being a very important zone. And it was the last time that they made an attempt towards that zone where you start to see the move working in our favor. So here's the next bit. Right now, you can see that there is a structure. I talk about the structure of the pattern forming inside of this area. This is what we mean about trading towards specific zones. Remember, price hasn't tested the daily open at all. I've come away from my $1,100 drawdown, now minus 365. But there's a structure right now, and if you look closely, they recovered the green vector candle at the 12,155 zone. I can live with that. I'm tolerating that. I'm reading the way price is behaving. I am not reacting to the monetary value of loss. I'm reacting to what the chart is telling me, all right? That's what we're looking for. We're expecting the movement up. That zone right there gave me the clue that this could be a very interesting point. And if it shows the proof that the buyers would be looking at stepping in, then that's where we hold our trade. If they invalidate that zone, I get out. So we're going to see NASDAQ continue with this move higher. Otherwise, we're going to get out, scratch the trade, take a loss. Done. Now, as we go further into the actual video, you can see that they actually came down towards the green vector candle zone, okay? And in this segment of the video, I start talking about the red vector candle as a point of interest where they could be coming back into. Here is the next zone. See how they move price down? They've come back into that zone again. This could be a zone. This could be it. This could be the retrace continuation back up. They're holding out in that zone purposely. They've gone down to the same zone that they sold from, and the bids haven't been triggered. So that only leaves room for the ask to step in and mark it up. So this is where you are in a situation. You've got a drawdown to the left of you. You can see I'm down now $965. Look at the yellow tab there, okay? Now, price is coming down. So let's think about the retail trader. Ah, shit, man, it's going down. Oh, I need to get out of my long, and it keeps going back up. It's keeping you committed into the trade. This is where we start engaging the intuition. See how what we're doing here, we're dealing with marginal zones. Always ask yourself, what reason do I have to sell? Forget what you're losing in terms of cash. If your management's correct, you shouldn't be bothered about the monetary loss. You're focusing on the play. Look, that zone could have shaken me out on the idea of them recovering, but they didn't break that zone. So now I'm getting more information about the way the move is. This is a point of interest. Now the red vector candle's in play right there. So we expect them to try and break higher into that zone. Okay, then. So that logic says, hold the trade, Tino. Don't close it yet. You've absorbed in your mind that $1,000 could be lost. Okay, I'm cool with that. That's fine on the account. Fine. Now I'm waiting to see if I can absorb this, the time it's taking for it to actually mark up higher and get towards the zone that I want it to get to so that I can realize a return. 800 EMA would be a treat on the 1 minute time frame on the NASDAQ futures. And NASDAQ seems to be pulling this trickery and terrible pricing and zone plays where it's just absorbing orders and people are getting thrown about and bullied. And this is where you put yourself to the test and you start bringing in the intuition and saying to yourself, there is no reason just yet that I have to sell other than what I see in the charts. Break this range, I'm out. So this is where it gets very interesting because they did break the range. Here is another example of how the market keeps traders in the charts. Can't stress it enough. When you focus so deeply into the way it moves, you start to pick up on things. Imagine all the guys now running for shorts inside of this area, and now NASDAQ just shoots up from that zone. I'm looking at that blue vector candle thinking, okay, interest is coming in. I've got no vector candles down at the lows right here. Blue vector candle comes in. Cool. You go and buy something and you'll be like, I wish I didn't, buyer's remorse. That's what it is. You don't want to do it. Why all of a sudden, no vector candles, then all of a sudden we get these blue vector candles? What is that suggesting to me? A break higher. They've tested this area several times. Green vector coming in now. So what do I need to see? I need to see the interest coming into market higher. Otherwise, they could come down and recover this point and then bang, I'm back in that boring consolidated zone. There she goes. Come on, NASDAQ. Bring the flavor. Bring the flavor. What I'm going to do is whatever profit I can get from this, if it's a decent amount, I'll close it because this is a very long video. And I've got to get myself ready for the live fast price action today, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a free market today, if I'm honest with you. And not going to be that much price action, I don't think, but we'll see what happens. So this is where I get all quiet. Come on, NASDAQ. Get back up, get back up, get back up. So this is where I'm like, yeah, NASDAQ, keep going, make your move, make your move. So at this point in the chart, okay, I'm so close to realizing a return on my trade. You can see I've moved up to minus $400 and I've got these green vector candles and then NASDAQ starts to break down. There's the point of control on that candle right there. There's value up here. There you go, snap, red vector candle. Could be a clue. Here we go. Can't break the moving averages. Okay, cool. The only next logical point is that value area high. We want that zone, 1280 region. So here is the breach of the zone. I needed solid proof that this was going to lead to a wild move down. This is the news play. They've come back up towards the VWAP, rejected it. They haven't tested it, but they've rejected the zone. I'm looking at the orders, come down to the point of control again, coming back up. Is this the bids faking out? Look at how they're moving here. It's going to be a fast play here. 1,500 on the loss. I can deal with that. So as you can see in the video, still down $1,000, but look what they did at this point right here. Intuitively, I believe that NASDAQ was preparing for the news to shoot up because they couldn't break away from this zone right here. Okay? And this is where I come towards the close of the video, and I said it was too long, and I wanted to get you guys updated on what the New York session was going to do. And she get up towards that 170 zone with speed. 27 orders on the order book right there. 28 on the ask. 30. Nothing on the bids right there. Here we go. Got some interest. Now you're wondering, Tino, why didn't you close the trade, man? You said in the video that you would be closing if it breaches that zone. But look, this was the UK low. They made the manipulative play. This zone was holding purposely because this red line is a value area or a point of control zone. And I saw that NASDAQ had divergences over here on the delta. I would only assume that they marked price down lower because they anticipated that the data might come in favorable to show more people are claiming benefit. The price action was dictating to me that there was interest in this zone. Why could the bids not break this area? And that's all the information that I had. She's starting to do something. Start bringing that flavor. Come on. I've got to stop this video. I'll keep you updated later on. So I ended the video here, okay? But I was focusing exclusively on this zone. The news was due to come out. Then you'll see what happens in a second. There it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. There's the play. Came into fruition. Now I'm going to get out of this trade. I've got to be careful. Got to be careful. Could come back down. Look at the price at the side. Getting ready to mark up. Data comes in positive. Happy days. Shooting up. There's NASDAQ behaving very well. There it is right there. We were right on our read. We read the market correctly. Now we're going to get ready to close off this trade. Done. Okay then. So the trade played out in our favor, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's just go back to the same spot that price had moved aggressively away from. So check this out. This was the zone that was giving me the belief, because that's where price came in and shifted up. It was the news play. Now, this was our zone. If we take our regions here on the volume profile, this is what we were dealing with. This point of control right here, they had broken down, tested the value area low. So the top side was around $1,500 loss, okay, at the drawdown. Now, because the reason why I held the trade is because throughout the whole ordeal of NASDAQ inside of this area here, I noticed that the points of control in this area here went from 749 to 834 when price was above the area here. And then when it came down, it started to increase, suggesting to me that there was interest at that zone for the ask to come in and shift up. Notice the tick chart. It came down, and we have got a minus 61% reading on the delta right here, and price ended up closing higher towards the actual top side of the candlestick. So this wick right here wasn't any good for us in the sense for shorts. Why? Because it didn't close lower. You look left and you can see the point of control right there gets triggered. And then the start of the new candle shifts price up on the news announcements, and we achieve the target of the VWAP based on the logic of rotation, and that price was going to go back and test the VWAP itself. Now, of course, I said I didn't want to get the video too long. It was over an hour and a half, but 42 minutes is good for me to give you guys an understanding of why we should learn to apply our intuition when we are actually looking to trade. And if we go into the price action itself on the 1 minute time frame, you can see the green vector candle comes in and recovers this point right here and bounces away. That's a clue that there was interest in this zone. They fully recover the candle, move away from it. Again, they come down, move away from it. They fully recover the vector candles, and then they made one more attempt to break down lower, and they tested the value area low right here, and the same interest of traders that came in at this point right here sent NASDAQ back up, because look how they came back up into the point of control. That red line, they shifted up. First green vector candle that appears above the 50 EMA, bang. So if you were to wait for a long and take a long on that principle, you would have seen success and a very nice move to the upside from that zone. Now, I hope this does actually work and, you can get some benefit from it. So as it stands, I've completed the evaluation. Now I've got access to $150,000. All I need to do is just get it completed of the 15 days trading target. I took another trade on the NASDAQ on the short as it came down from the highs, because I saw that on the depth of market over here, I rode the short all the way down towards the VWAP. Sorry, it was over here. I took advantage of the short on the move down. If you remember in the Discord, I was talking about them breaking that 12297. They broke that 12297, took advantage of price going lower, but then NASDAQ doing its usual flavor, reverses back up again below the VWAP. Now, remember what I said about the VWAP? Rotation. There's no trend. Okay, you can see it goes up, it goes down. VWAP, short to the VWAP, go long to the VWAP. Up again, short from there, go down to the VWAP. Because you can see it's come into the standard deviation zones themselves and not successfully broken above that previous zone, suggesting volatility was slowing down. We go closer into the chart and you can see that we have got divergences in the delta, divergence in the delta, divergence in the delta, stacked load of divergences in around that zone. That's what justified the short for me. So the trade that I did earlier on netted me around $1,900. So we go back into it. The first trade, if I break it down, so here it is here. It's a little bit confusing because the way they present the orders, but you've got, I sold from 12.311, okay? And sorry, 12.312, these two positions here, all right? And then I filled, it was 6 positions in total, and then I closed off at 12.294. So it was a very short-lived move when they broke the 12.97 region, but we managed to get a few points from that, okay? But I hope the understanding of this range right here, how we can apply the point of control and focusing on the candlesticks. We look back, do we see a structure? W formation. In hindsight, that's what it was. But there was a reason why they were holding this zone. This was consistent with the news plays. They did come down, but the vector zone right there gave me a clue that things weren't looking right. They were preparing because NASDAQ had every opportunity to mark lower and it didn't. They stayed inside of the volume profile. That's why I held onto the trade, because I was focusing on them building the interest in here. I hope that makes sense to you, ladies and gentlemen. Please let me know if there are any questions that I can answer later on. Mad love and respect. Peace.